Hello, I'm Ollie. It is so great to be here at Design Outlook today. I want to say a really big thank you to Grant and the rest of the team for putting on this amazing event. And I'd also like to quickly say that the speakers we've had today have been absolutely world class, and I'd love us if we could just give a quick round of applause to everybody we've heard already today. I'll begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which we are gathering today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. This place that we call Australia was, and always will be, Aboriginal land. So this is my first time doing a public speech, and it turns out that writing a speech for a bunch of designers and design leaders is really hard. Who am I? What is my brand? What is the one thing about design that I really love and care about that all of you will care about? How do I be interesting and controversial without completely ending my career, which is a real thing that could have happened? How do after all, like, what can I say that you haven't already heard today that's been said by many people much better than me? I'm only one person. And then it struck me. What if instead of me writing about my very limited personal experiences, I took all of the information about design that's been ever written, and I combined it with the awesome power of machine learning to write the world's best design speech. And I put it to the test. I asked it to generate not one, but 50 incredible design conference talks. And the results, pretty good. This is totally real. But then I thought, why not get it to just write my whole speech? And let's just say the results were quite bold. My favorite line there is probably that we need to get rid of all designers, and then the world will be a better place. Needless to say, I decided to go back to the drawing board, and I've decided instead to actually tell you a story that a machine algorithm couldn't tell, one a little bit more human-centered. All right, my story starts at the departures terminal of Sydney Airport, where I'm saying goodbye to my family, my friends, and my life in Australia, to chase this big, silly dream of making it as a designer in New York City. I was young, ambitious, and I had just landed my dream job. Not only was I going to be learning from world-class designers, I was going to be applying those design skills to really big, interesting problems like climate change, gender inequality, gun control. In the land of opportunity, I had a really interesting opportunity to make a difference. So on my first day, I get the L train from Jefferson Street Station to Union Square in Manhattan, and I am losing my mind excited. I walk around the block onto Fifth Avenue, and no joke, this is the view I have every single day walking into my office. There's like the American flag is there, Empire State Building, everything is going great. And then just like that, for the Sex and the City fans, it wasn't. On my first day, my manager breaks down crying to me, and it turns out that people were really burnt out. The tensions were high, and the creative and strategy team, this might sound familiar, didn't really get along. Our desks were literally hidden around a corner to protect us. Turns out even your dream job has the same problems as everywhere else. And I went home that night and I was really quite defeated. And I called my parents and I said, I think I've made the biggest mistake of my life coming here. My dreams were completely crushed. But it's okay, because it turns out having your dreams crushed in New York is kind of the whole shtick of being in New York. It just does that to you over and over again. Builds you up, lets you fail, builds you up, lets you fail. And I was like, hang on a second. That's really familiar. This happens to me all the time. I'm a designer. I fail every single day. I'm almost always wrong. I got this. And so I'm like, well, fuck. I'm here. How can I help? So day 2, I go and find a wall outside of the creative corner And I declare an open invitation to anybody in the agency to come and join me in the design process. And at first, people were thinking, who is this weird Australian guy that we've just hired who's sticking all this shit up on the walls? And then they started asking me about it. And pretty soon, they started participating. And then within 2 years that I was there, we went from being enemies to being collaborators, to being co-designers. And we're testing and co-designing with people who are directly affected by the social injustices that we're trying to solve. We were creating a space where great design could happen. When I moved to New York, I thought I would learn how to become a better designer. Instead, I learned how to become a better leader. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. In preparing for my talk, I spoke with a dozen world-class leaders, ranging from founders, partners, CEOs, managing directors, GMs, ECDs, a couple of strategy people, and they all agreed, some of them, not the strategy people, they all agree that designers don't make good leaders. Designers make great leaders. If you are a designer in this room, your entire career has been an intensive course in leadership training. You have been practicing almost all of the desirable skills that a future leader needs. Let me explain. When you're practicing human-centered design, inviting other people into the design process, listening, or just designing for inclusivity and accessibility, you are not just designing. You are practicing empathetic leadership. And in a post-Brexit, post-Trump, and post-COVID world where the focus is on employee well-being, emotional intelligence is essential in a leadership position. And because our practice is built around emotional intelligence, that gives us a huge advantage. I'll give you another example. When you're sweating the details of your craft, maybe you're building an atomic design system. Maybe you're weighing up the options and considering technical feasibility of the design choices you're making. You are not just designing. You are thinking systematically. You are zooming in and out. You're considering how every piece of the puzzle fits into a wider ecosystem and how those small changes can have big downstream impacts, effects, or benefits. I'll give you one more example. When you rapidly ideate, prototype, test, learn, unlearn, relearn, when you are failing forward, you are not just designing. You are practicing adaptability and leading in an increasingly complex and uncertain world. You are switching from an I know mindset to an I don't know mindset. And the whole time that you are doing this, you are practicing decisiveness, which actually makes a lot of sense. Did you know that the word design comes from the word designate? Designers are deciders. It's in the name. You are the deciders in your business. You are deciding the future that we will live in. And you have the tools and the skills to not just get us there, but lead us there. Your next big decision is to decide that you are not just a designer anymore, that you are a leader. And if you get that mindset, you'll start to grow in ways you haven't expected. All right. So if you already identify as a design leader in this room, congratulations. I am really curious, though, how many of you knew everything that you needed to know before you transitioned into a management or leadership role? I would bet very few. You probably had to fumble your way through mistakes. Maybe you were lucky. Maybe your manager gave you a one-day course in how to be a manager. Now is your chance to not repeat that mistake. The coach that you needed back then, it's you. That's your job. You need to do the hard work and invest in individualized coaching with your people. It's hard, it takes time, and it pays off. Teach your designers the things that you wish you knew before you became a leader. Help them bridge those language barriers between business and finance. How many designers in the room, just a rough show of hands, how many designers in this room have a Harvard Business Review subscription? I see like 4 hands. Like, these are important things. Tell your designers this stuff. And by spending the time coaching your designers to be leaders, You will create loyalty, trust, and unshakable bonds that have been proven to excel business excellence. It is literally a win-win-win situation. Your legacy as a leader needs to not be about the things that you're making for your company. It's about the leaders that you are creating. And if there's one takeaway from my talk today, it's for you to turn this into a measurable KPI. Now, does anybody know who this man is? This is Dean Boxall. He is the Australian swimming coach, and he was awarded the International Best Coach of the Year last year. And he's an excellent example of how being invested in someone you're teaching creates amazing results. But don't just think about the results, because that's boring. Think about how great it's going to feel when someone that you are personally invested in accomplishes a goal that you didn't think was possible. And if you can't imagine that, I can show you.
This is the part that Ariarne Titmus is known for. It's her last 100. You can see her, she's up the race. She's got the legs up, 3:27.12. She's got to come back in around a 29:30. She's got the world record. Look at her accelerate. The rate's coming up and the legs are coming up hard.
Look over your shoulder, Katie Ledecky, because you've got a Terminator on your tail. In fact, you've got a Terminator in front of you. Katie Ledecky's world record is going to go right here. Come on, let's go, Ariarne. Ariarne Titmus is hanging on. Can she get there? The world record's catching up. Come on, Ariarne. Get there. Come on, go. She did it. World record for Ariarne Titmus. Katie Ledecky's world record has been terminated here tonight.
Feels pretty good, right? So before I was asked to talk at this conference, Grant asked me what I think I'll be doing as a leader over the next 10 years. My answer is pretty simple. It's the same stuff I've been doing the last 10 years. I'm going to be deciding with empathy. I'm going to be thinking big and small and practicing systematic thinking. I'm going to be failing forward with confidence in a less and less uncertain world. Less and less certain world. I'm going to be inviting other people into the process. I'm going to be getting out of that creative corner and opening the door to the process. But most importantly, I hope to be creating a legacy of leaders and preparing designers for the big problems that they're going to have to face. Now, to circle back, maybe we do need to get rid of the word design, but not from the world, but perhaps just from our titles. And maybe someday soon we won't just be sitting at the table, we might be leading it. Thanks.